Government business at its best. We are at number 4 in the series we call Table Talk, an initiative of the Government of the Virgin Islands as part of an overall communication strategy to keep you updated on the modern governance approach, government business at its best. Good morning, everyone. My name is Angela Burns. Thank you for joining us. On this week's Table Talk, please welcome our guests for today. Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Deputy Governor, Mrs. Charlene Dabrio-Letsom.
Thank you.
Interim Director of the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute, Dr. Connie George.
Thank you.
And Assistant Information Officer, Mr. E.U.C. Adams.
Good
Welcome.
morning. Thank you.
Table Talk is a program to provide you, the public, with information and to hear from you. So we welcome your feedback in the chat on Facebook, and you will be invited to call us at a certain point during the program at 468-2787. So the focus today is on the Deputy Governor's Office and capacity building and effective communication. And don't wonder why we are with the Deputy Governor's Office today, and don't get turned off. This is going to be an interesting program, I do believe. Like me, you may be surprised at the significant work of this office that they're responsible for, the work that they're responsible for and is in fact doing to hold it all together. So let's begin by talking about the role of the Deputy Governor's Office as it relates to capacity building and effective communication in the public service. First of all, who are public servants, and then what is the role of the DG's office in that respect?
Okay, so thank you very much, Angela, and thank you very much for inviting us. And we're very anxious to get lots of questions today, so we're prepared for that. In terms of the Office of the Deputy Governor, we obviously provide the direct support to His Excellency the Governor, and one of the key responsibilities under the Governor's portfolio in accordance with the Constitution is the area of terms and conditions and employment of persons within the public service. In order to ensure that the public service has the right skill sets, we have to administer a capacity building program. And currently that program is facilitated through the Department of Human Resources, and the Department of Human Resources falls directly under the responsibility of the Deputy Governor's Office, with the Deputy Governor serving as the head of the public service, the one who is supporting the governor to ensure the effective running of the public service. So in terms of capacity building, that is the reason why we are here today speaking on that area. In the area of communications, the functions of the Deputy Governor is to make sure that the area of customer service is well defined and that we are carrying out our responsibilities in serving the public, our clients, our customers. So I hope I've given you enough.
Yes, and certainly we'll get more into capacity building and effective communication. But government, we know, is the preferred employer, obviously, as it is the largest employer. Can you give us some figures as to how many public servants we have and broadly in what fields?
I want to just reflect on the history of where we were. So I'm going to give you some numbers here. In 2010, our public service was at the highest it had been for quite some time. And that was 4,495 public officers, a good, healthy number. We had a significant drop. That was sustained for quite some time, for 5 years. And then we had a significant drop in 2016, and the number went to 2,765 public officers at a time where governments had to put control measures in place and so forth. That number continued up until we had the impacts of the hurricane. So it went from 2,765. Right after the hurricanes in 2018, we saw a significant drop to 2,610. And then we continued to have some drops. The lowest for the period 2010 to 2022, the lowest point was in 2020, where we had 2,469 public officers. We started to see a slight increase, and last year our numbers were at 2,895. I'm going to repeat that.
Yes.
Last year, we were at 2,895 public officers by the end of the year. Now we're at 2,522. So this is the number that I received from the HR department yesterday.
Okay.
So as you see, a significant drop. We've had a number of persons leaving the public service, ending contracts. We had that in the teaching sector. You would have seen a number of teachers that had to be hired in. But we also had a number of public officers, and we have a number of public officers who are retiring and who are moving on. And that signals two things. It signals a transition for the public service, but it also signals a very urgent need for us to get persons ready to assume those positions, those higher level positions, middle management positions, or even entry level positions. So therefore, the reason why we are so aggressively moving to implement what we're calling the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute to be able to address the capacity needs of the public service. In addition to that, we had 2010, we had significant rains. 2017, we had, remember the 7 numbers? I'm going to go every 7 years. 2010, 2017, okay. We had the hurricanes and the floods that created a major impact on us. And then 2020, we had COVID. And so the work of the public service has changed. We have a new National Sustainable Development Plan. We have a public service transformation plan that we're implementing. Those plans are asking us to look at new skill sets, to make sure that those officers who are within the public service are trained to carry on the current work, but to also look at the future state of the public service and have individuals ready. Cybersecurity is a new area of focus for us, and we're looking to see how we can develop individuals in that area, but we're also looking at existing programs. We are trying our very best to change the way that we handle maintenance of structures and systems in the public service. So the whole area of preventative maintenance is now a very big topic on the table for us, and therefore we have to make sure that we have systems and programs to facilitate capacity building and to be able to communicate more effectively with our customers.
So capacity building is not just a buzzword. There's actually work going on.
Actually, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, is it just a matter where someone graduates from school or somebody is unemployed and they can just apply to the government and government is obligated to hire them? We know what the role of the government is in an economy. How does that work?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So we have lots of children that are coming out of the high school, and what we're finding is a lot of them want to go off to study right away, but we do have some that are entering government. You have to come with some of the basic entry-level requirements, high school diploma, some level of experience. There are some positions where you can enter directly without much formal education, but the majority of the positions in government, they're asking for a more structured, formal academic requirements. And if you don't have those academic requirements, then it's your responsibility to be able to present the level of experience and exposure that you have that is equivalent to the academic requirements that we're looking for. But I think the best person to be able to add more to that is our very able educator, Dr. George, and I'm sure she has quite a bit more experience on the transitioning of young people into the public service. But I do want to say to you, we do have a very rigorous entry-level process. It is a formal application process. You are taken through a very intense interview process, and you are filtered. And then there are some positions, you have different layers to that interview process. So we are looking for persons who, persons who want to develop and will come in with some entry-level requirements, but we're also looking for persons who are coming to the public service with very strong skill sets who are ready to hit the ground running. Dr. George, you want to add a bit?
Well, yeah, we're going to get into the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute, but Dr. George definitely can come in here, I do believe. When one gets employed by the government, is training provided in every area, and is there an obligation on their part to engage in continuous education?
Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much for the question. Yes, we are ensuring that the individual must play their part in the training that is being offered. So we would have quite a plethora of things that we are offering. The individual must be the one who's going to say, I am going to be a part of this, and I'm going to engage with the learning that is offered to me as an individual. The key is you want to be upskilled, you want to improve your status within the public service, actually, and therefore you must go after it individually, and we're going to also offer you collective opportunities where we have groups being offered, whether you're in accounts, we may offer something for accounts, you might be in taxes, we might offer something in that particular area, but individually there's so much that you can also. But the key is, yes, the individual must play their part.
Okay, so I've heard about the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute, and I'm eager to understand about this whole concept. Dr. George, perhaps we can talk specifically now more about that in terms of efforts to ensure that every public servant receives the training that they need in order to properly function.
Thank you very much again. So the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute, I want to say, is an expansion to what existed with the training division and more recently the learning and development unit. We have now expanded to include other forms of training and to ensure that our public officers are aware that there are things for them that they can be upskilled, improve their way of doing things, ensure that the public service become, as we call it, a world-class public service. And so we have a variety of areas by which we have been offering training over the last couple of months. It may be important for me to say here that in the 2023 budget, there were funds available or made available for training across departments. More recently, it was all brought together under the Human and Resource Department, and so that figure looked like $785,133 that were available for training within the public service. And so these funds have been utilized and training have been ongoing. I could tell you in most recent months we have had the customs department being trained. We have had the trainers, customer service courses that are ongoing, being delivered by Virgin Atlantic. We are going to be rolling out very soon the preventative maintenance course at HLSCC, which will begin this Thursday. That has been oversubscribed, and we are indeed running 2 courses this year, and into next year we have on schedule already another training course in the maintenance area. I have to mention our Public Service 101, which is going to be our very first cohort, is going to be taking place beginning the 17th of October, and the 17th of October until the 19th of October. Then we will go over to Virgin Gorda early November for a similar course, and return to Tortola by the end of November with another course. This is intended to be an ongoing course throughout the public service that every single public officer must attend. So the word mandatory is in there. It's just that we have to find categories by which to schedule every single person so that they can get what we are looking at as the foundations to being a good public officer, the foundations to working in an excellent world-class public service and what they contribute to this, as well as ensuring that they understand that within the public service you can become a career public officer. We want to really encourage people to be career driven within the public service. And there are many more areas, and I'm sure they will come out as we continue to speak. But yes, our goal is to offer and have available training for all public officers, regardless of your job classification.
Is this a college? Is this a school? Is this an educational institution? Break it down for Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute. What is the idea? What is the concept? I know it's for training. I know it's for education. Is it someplace that people are going to have to go? You mentioned that you can go to them as well.
Yes.
But
So it is an institute for learning.
okay,
Our goal is building capacity, and that's why we're here today to speak
Yes.
of building capacity across the service. And as we build capacity, we recognize professional development and training are key areas that are needed to improve the quality that we are going to offer in our public service. And so this training will take various forms. So you're asking me if it's going to be a college or an institute, or it is going to serve the purpose
Serve
of
the
all
purpose.
those areas.
Excellent.
Why do I say that?
Excellent.
Because we will be doing, for example, short term.
Yeah.
It might be a day workshop. It might be a week's workshop, as well as it could be a course that we are running through the HLSCC under the standing that we have a MOU, and that might be an entire semester. It could be something that they're putting on for us just to facilitate a particular cohort of persons within a particular area within the public service, as well as scholarships. And our scholarships, we intend to offer scholarships to individuals within the public service, which will lead to certification, of course. And that could be a short term, 9 months, as well a 4-year degree. And it can go on from there. We want to do, as well as within the public service, not only attachments where we have a particular skill set. We want to release an individual to go to an area or place, that a jurisdiction that has a very good program, and they will become attached there. We are also including under the umbrella rotations, where you can move from one office to the other to learn or to become a part of a new environment that will be training you to facilitate or to be a part of that. So we are offering training, development, enhancement, engaging our public officers so that they can be equipped to fill the roles that we have within the public service.
Okay, and that distinction must be made because there's already a question on Facebook from somebody who's asking, is this training for people who want jobs, or is this training for public officers?
Within the public service.
Within the public service.
You must be within the public service.
Awesome. So the government of the Virgin Islands is promoting government business at its best, and this modern governance approach. As part of that, we see efforts to improve the standard of service provided to the public. Certainly the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute comes in handy there. Tell us about the initiatives in this regard, and I want us to focus specifically on customer service because I'm a member of the public, and I go to these departments sometimes, and truth be told, hurry up and come with the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute.
Well, the Institute is going to facilitate a lot of things, and the Institute is going to help us to better serve our customers by providing the training. But there's a level of work that we have to do as a government to be able to put systems in place to allow persons access to individuals, access to information. And one of the things that the public would be aware of is we launched the Customer Service Care Center a couple of years ago, and we've been building on that, and we've introduced a new tool called C-Click Fix, which
Called what and where and who?
well, I'm gonna roll that off my tongue quickly because that is the package that we purchased.
Okay.
But Mr. Adams is going to tell you what we did with that,
Okay.
because the persons can now call the Institute. You can log online, you can chat online, you can call that,
like that.
one number, and we'll just deal with everything that you need. You need to know when your work permit is going to come through. You have a hole in the road going up to Lambert Estate and you want it patched. You want to find out when is vaccination day for your dogs and your cats. Anything that you want in government, that's that single number that we're facilitating
I'm
for
impressed.
you.
Tell us more, Mr. Adams.
Ms. Barnes, I think it's important to note for us that, as you said, as a member of the public, it's It's evident to us. We've seen the numbers, we've seen the reviews. There is a need to improve the level of customer service in the government. What we have done is looked at the information that the public has given us and put a strategic focus into ensuring we build customer service in the government to a level that is recognized on the world stage.
All right.
So we have the Customer Service Care Center. Right now, across the road at the Boreham Building, we have 5 customer service specialists sitting, answering calls, answering emails, and chatting. We have a new live chat that is coming that is going to allow you on any device you have, your iPhone or your Android, your tablet or your laptop, to go on the website bvips.org and speak to one of our representatives and receive support right there, right now.
8:30 to 4:30 or 24/7?
8 to 5.
8 to 5, okay.
That is another representation of the commitment. We know the normal government hours are 8:30 to 4:30 for normal offices. Because we recognize the importance of customer service, our customer service care center is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
That is our commitment. We have resources like the BVI Gov Reported app that allows you, there is a map of the Virgin Islands on there that you can go. If you see a problem on the road, a pothole, if you see a derelict vehicle, a broken pipe, you can go take a photo of that, submit it to the app. The Customer Service Care Center will review it and submit it to the relevant department for action. And it's not submitting to stay there and create a logjam. We are ensuring that we get these issues fixed. That is a commitment to building a better government of the Virgin Islands.
Has that been tried and proven?
It's working right now.
It's working right now, all right.
We're seeing the results.
Yes, we're seeing thousands of appointments being made through the
Yes.
system. I think last year we were well beyond 5,000 to 6,000 appointments that were
Yes.
facilitated through the center. So we're seeing the successes of it. We're getting very, very positive feedback on the quality of the specialists who are answering the calls. They're not receptionists. They are called specialists.
Get
So
that.
they are trained.
Yes.
They're being trained at a particularly high level to be able to facilitate the needs of customers. We don't want customers calling and they need a simple form and they have to be transferred to 2 and 3 departments. Those specialists have access to that. The specialist services are being opened up to many different departments, so they're facilitating appointments for the majority of government departments, but they're also in the process of facilitating information for our internal customers, meaning our public officers. So public officers who want information on retirement, they can call the center now, and the center is able to facilitate that. So we are building out the center to be able to serve the needs of the customer service. But Angela, I always like to present evidence.
Yes, indeed.
The
We love
evidence here
evidence.
is this young man who started with us just a few months ago, just fresh out of the high school, did a few years or so doing his own thing and trying to figure out where he wants to go. And now he's on the team, and
Wow.
he's been a remarkable addition to the public service, yes, and he is taking the lead in this area. His supervisor, unfortunately, fortunately for her, is
Yes.
on leave, doing something very special, and he has taken charge. And this just demonstrates to you how young people can come into the public service, and if given the opportunity, can grow and do so much. And he's been working on the communication aspect of it and really trying to get things changed, and he's going to tell you a bit more about what he's done with the area of HR as well, because that's a new area that you've seen our little graphics going out on. We're hiring, and it seems like
Yes.
we've started a trend.
Yes.
And so,
But
yeah.
before you get to the HR, you wanted to say something, Dr.
Just to
George?
add to the
Yes,
customer
please.
service bit, I just wanted to add, I mentioned as I was speaking earlier about the Virgin Atlantic doing for us a customer service the trainers, and there are 11 persons who are there training as trainers. So what is going to happen there is that we intend to use the package and now filter it right through the entire public service. Through the Institute, that is one of the things that we're going to be doing, and we are looking to build specialists within the public service. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, months, I would say up to a year, you should begin to see some changes coming to our front end and the persons who are facilitating that, because we intend to train and ensure that what is happening in one office is right across the civil service, the public officers.
Okay,
within
Dr.
the
George, we're
public
going to come
office.
back to you with the
Yes.
Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute and the 60 hours of
Yes,
mandatory
definitely.
training. I want to touch on that.
Definitely.
But to come back to something you were saying, Mr. Adams, about the customer care center, did you give a number to call? What number does one call? And is that different to the calling 468-3701?
Same
Because
number,
it's the
yeah.
same number.
Same number.
Okay, because I can testify. I've heard and seen
Yeah.
a difference in
Yes.
the quality of the specialists who answer the telephone. There's one particular one, I can call her name, but I won't.
Call it.
Laura Malone.
Smith.
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 Laura
Laura
Smith.
Smith.
Yes.
My goodness, she is perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
She answers the phone very pleasantly, and she gets you to where you want to go, and so on. So I've seen,
Yes.
the
That's
work
the
that's being done.
commitment. There's a very unique commitment that we have
Yes.
to improving the customer service of the government.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of time in ensuring that our procedures are right. We're equipping our specialists to be able to navigate through government to quickly provide customers with the information, the tools they need to do business with the government.
2,895 public servants. How do you manage that from a human resources perspective?
Well, that's down to 2,522.
Okay.
So that number
Yes.
that
All right.
you stated
two
was
and a half
last
thousand.
year. So
2,500.
Yeah, it's
Let's talk
us-
HR.
That's 2,522 public officers serving 7 ministries.
9 ministries.
9 ministries.
We have
sorry.
some new additions.
Oh, yes, right.
9 or 10 constitutional offices,
Wow.
19 statutory agencies, about 50 associated bodies, and then you've got 60 plus departments and units.
Wow.
That's, I'm going to repeat it again.
Yes, please.
2,522 public officers that are serving the 9 ministries, 9 or soon to be 10 constitutional offices, 60 departments and units, 19 statutory agencies, and more than 50 associated bodies.
Wow.
That is not a big public service.
It's not a big
It's
public
not
service.
a big
not.
public service.
For BVI?
For
the
BVI,
Virgin Islands?
based on what we are doing. We are covering a wide range of topics, and we're providing a wide range of services to the public. 46% of the public service covers persons who are who have an associate degree and below.
Right. And below.
And below.
Okay.
46%. So we're focusing on that 46% to move that 46 up to the next level. There are a large number of public officers who are at, in our terms, at a grade 12 and to the permanent secretary, deputy governor
All
level.
right. When you talk about grade 12 and so on, the
I'm-
ordinary person
I'm going
doesn't
to
understand.
explain that.
Yes,
Yes,
please. Yes,
I'm going
please.
to explain that. So
Yeah.
coming in at a grade 12, 11, 12, you're coming in with a bachelor's degree,
Okay.
you're coming in with experience, you're coming in with possibly a master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
So from those grades and upward to the level of a deputy governor,
Okay.
those are individuals who have been in the service. Right now, I can safely say that a large percentage, maybe more than 75%, of those individuals have been in the public service for more than 10, 15 years.
Okay.
There are, the last count we had, there are about 850 public officers who have done 25 years in the public service, and they're possibly going to be moving on to something else very soon. In many other Caribbean countries, to get into the public service, it's usually a fight. It's an area where you don't easily get in. You really have to have the top quality individuals entering the public service. That's a trend you've seen in many, many different Caribbean islands. In addition, the public service also facilitates individuals for the private sector. So persons are leaving the public service younger and they want to take on other challenges, and the first thing that they normally do is to reach out to the private sector to see what's available for them. So we're not just building capacity for government's work, we're also building capacity for the work of the territory. And we would like to see a closer relationship being built with the Department of Labor and the private sector so that we can facilitate this territory-wide learning initiative for BVI landers, for persons who are coming to work, for persons who decide to make BVI a home. We want to have an entire effective learning program for the territory. But if we go back to services, and the reason I said that number is not a large number, because it's not a large public service, considering the extent of the work and considering that we've now moved from 7 ministries to 9 ministries, considering what we've gone through and considering the extent of the work that needs to be done in a territory that is so rapidly developing. Because you have some very unique programs in the BVI that you don't see in a lot of the other Caribbean islands. We depend solely on desalination systems to produce our water.
Yeah.
And therefore capacity needs to be built in that area to be able to maintain those systems, to be able to design those systems, to be able to manage them. You don't see a lot of extensive desalination networks in many of the other Caribbean countries because they depend on rivers and so forth. So there are some very unique areas where we need to focus on building capacity, but in terms of the size of the public service, it is not a large public service when you think of the data that you see for other countries and the extent of the work that they're covering. Bear in mind that we are a territory with 4 main islands.
Yes.
So we're not just looking at government services on one island, we're looking at government services on 4 islands. And we have to make sure that those services on Virgin Gorda, Anegada, and Jos Van Dyke are built up to the level of the mainland. And that is our goal going forward. That's why we're no longer having public officers come to Tortola to receive the Public Service 101 or other training. We're going to go to them. There is a college that's facilitating work. The HLSCC is facilitating work in Virgin Gorda. There is a college outlet there, and we want to work with institutions like that. We want to work with Virgin Atlantic. We want to work with other programs that are available throughout the territory to offer that training for public officers. And it's a lot of work, Angela. It's a lot of work that's taking place. Exciting work. Very exciting work.
Yeah. I'm glad you clarified, because when you said earlier on that it's not a big public service, I was like, what are you talking about? 2,500 people, but I think I get it. I think I understand. But that segues, before I get back to you, Dr. George, that segues into, or maybe let's talk about the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute in terms of the structure of the training, the mandatory hours of learning and so on. Let's talk about that, Dr. George.
All right. Again, thank you very much. The 60 hours is intended to ensure that public officers, 1, take charge of their own development,
Okay.
and 2, that there is ongoing training and professional development individually. What do I mean by that? That you're taking charge of improving your skills. You're taking charge of improving your learning within your particular area. And so we are mandating 60 hours of essential learning, which will be reflected on appraisals, which is to ensure that persons are doing every little thing that they can to improve their skills. So that is one of the ways that we are intending to do it. And everyday things are changing within some of these various areas. And we want to be sure that all people are on the cutting edge. They are staying abreast of what's happening with the best practices within their fields. And so we continue to ask them, read something. It could be different forms. It could be a book you're reading. It could be attending one of our soft skill training courses. It could be signing up for one of our scholarship program areas. It could be a part of a cohort that we are enlisting that you're going to be doing for 1 week. It varies. And it is done in such a way that you're accommodated at whatever area you're in and whatever your personal circumstance might be.
Angela, I want to just say that the work that we're doing with the Institute is directly connected to the Public Service Transformation Program, because one of the key themes in that is to develop highly skilled and adaptable leaders and public officers. So we are making the connection between, as you've seen with the umbrella
Yes.
concept, we're making the connection with those overarching frameworks that are in place. So you have the Public Service Transformation Program that's now showing how that work is trickling down to building capacity and improving communication. The other area of significant focus in the Public Service Transformation Program is the area of human resources, the department itself, building capacity, improving the performance of public officers and the performance of our HR department, looking at change and collaboration and also innovative ways of thinking and doing things. And you would have seen, as I mentioned earlier, some changes in the way that we are managing the human resources that are actually coming in, persons who are interested in employment with government, but also how we are managing public officers. And Mr. Adams has done quite a bit in terms of getting a more positive image out there of our HR department and how we can better serve public officers.
Definitely, PS, if I may, there is an innate responsibility as a government to communicate. We have a responsibility to ensure that the public is always aware. Now, we're speaking about effective communication this morning. Effective communication is not just a blanket thing. There are ingredients to achieving effective communication. So we must first communicate accurately.
Yes.
We must communicate consistently. And thirdly, we must be concise. Information gets lost when it has to travel in large packets. So what we've done with the Department of Human Resources, we started by getting the information that the public wants to know, which is the jobs that we have. We put a lot of focus into ensuring that the public can easily access the information to see what we're hiring for, where we're hiring. So almost every week now, we're releasing brand new graphics that says, hey, we're hiring.
Via what means?
They come out on Facebook. They are also on the government's website, and you'll probably end up getting them in one or two of your WhatsApp chats, right? And we've seen the response in this already. We've seen in circumstances where we might have 4 or 5 applications in a post. These numbers have increased by the hundreds of percentages. We're getting 30, 40 applicants per post. So that's telling us that people want to apply for the jobs in government.
Right.
We just have to ensure that they know they can.
Okay.
So we've put the focus on that. And if I can go a little bit further to that, we're introducing a brand new system in the Department of HR. We understand that there is a need to completely streamline and modernize our recruitment process. So what you'll see probably in the coming weeks is something that we're calling Talio. Talio is our application and onboarding management system. And I can describe it in one sentence. As an applicant, you are going to be able to submit your application and watch it go through the
Track it.
stages.
Awesome.
You're going to see where it is. If there's a problem with it, hey, you need to upload this document. You're going to see who it's with, and we want to ensure that the onboarding process in government is fair and accountable. We want it to be open. We want people to know that the government wants to hire you.
Welcome Talio, and I suppose that when Talio comes that you're going to let everybody
Yes.
know about it. Effective
Yes.
communications.
Yes.
Just in case you're just joining us, everyone, this is Table Talk. We're discussing today with the officials from the Deputy Governor's Office effective communication and capacity building. We're talking about the public service, and everybody who is watching and everybody in the Virgin Islands, you have to deal with the public service. And we know that there have been complaints. What the Deputy Governor's Office is saying, we have heard you, and we are instituting measures to improve capacity building. Now, back to the 60 hours, because, some people might say, Dr. George, 60 hours of mandatory essential learning. They're not remembering now that it's a whole year, right? Me, I don't have time for that. I hardly have time to do what I have to do on the government job. So where am I going to find the time for this? What's your response to that?
My response to that is going to be that your hours can be accumulated as you work daily.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Now,
As
you
you
guys
work
thought
with-
of everything.
Yes, yes.
So as you work daily, you may be assigned a particular task. Within that task, there are learning opportunities, there are growing opportunities, the essential things that you're doing that will help to build your skill and your capacity. That's one. It
Okay.
could be as simple as reading a book within your field, and it may not be a book, it might be a nice YouTube video that's showing you how to fix a particular thing. You document the hours that you sat and learn that skill through that video. It might be attaching yourself to one of our programs that we are running, whether it's an hour long, 2 hours long online. That is another area. We have more lengthy programs where the Institute will be offering structured learning programs, whether a workshop, like we are doing a 2 days workshop or we are doing a 3-day workshop. Those are all hours that you will be able to accumulate. As well as if you want to do something more extensive and more individual, you can do a scholarship, you can sign yourself up to be a part of a program online, an online course, and all of those areas we are looking at as well.
So if you're on the job and DG's office calls you off and say, listen, you have to attend this 1 hour, 2 hour program, you're still on the job. But you're training as well. I mean, it
Yes.
goes
Yes.
towards
Yes.
yours.
Yes.
Okay.
We want to look at practical training. So
Yeah.
if you're at the Public Works Department and you're in the mechanic shop, we want to bring the trainers in so they're working on a vehicle. We actually go through the process of showing them how to do that service better. So we have practical applications, we have the formal applications, and as Dr. George said, there are opportunities where if you're working on developing a project or a particular concept, we will bring in the facilitators to help you to learn how to do that better. So learning is continuous, it's always happening. It's just that we are just creating a structured way of being able to document how individuals are benefiting from that. One of the other areas that we're looking at is if you come into the public service, like Mr. Adams, who's just recently entered, we're working with him on developing a career plan for himself. So if he aspires to be the next director of communications, then we're going to be working with him to be able to roll out that plan so he'll understand what he needs to do in order to get to that level.
Right.
So there will be levels defined within the Public Service Learning Institute. So every level, there is a milestone that you have to achieve
Right.
in order to get to that point, but there will be a purpose of why you're moving up to those levels. So individuals who want to come in and want to take on the role of permanent secretary, there will be a clear path defined for them, clear levels. If you want to be an engineer in the public service and you're coming in young, fresh out of high school, there'll be a clear path for you to follow. So we want everyone to walk around with this little paper that says, this is my career path.
Yes.
I'm trying to get there because I am proud.
Proud, yeah.
Come
We're
on
proud
now,
to
come
be
on.
public officers. And if I may,
Yeah.
our approach to learning and development is really, and these 60 essential learning hours, we're putting the development of the individual in their own hands. We're saying, this is what you need to do. Get your 60 hours. We're going to walk with you. If I may take words from a deputy governor, in his last monthly message, he said, dare to dream. We want to tell public officers, if you can dare to dream, the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute will help you achieve. And when we have public officers that are dreaming, that are learning and are developing, they are proud to be public officers. They're smiling. We don't have, sometimes we see typical images of persons walking around in government jobs and they're mopey and they're sad. We want a public office, our public service filled with individuals that are smiling, that are happy, that are proud to be there and proud to be contributing to the development of the territory.
And we say everyone, we say all of the public servants. Do you have janitors who are public servants?
Dr.
And are
George.
they required to do the 60 hours as well?
I looked at
Yeah,
Dr.
pretty
George
bad.
because Dr. George is going to tell you about the program we're launching for janitors and
Come
on,
custodial staff.
let's go.
Soon.
And very much so, very
Yes.
much so. We look at them, once you are a permanent pensioner, you're part of the public service.
Yes.
Yes, we are also expecting them to do their little trainings as
Okay.
well. As a matter of fact, just last week, we had a conversation with HLSCC, and we invited them to organize a program just for janitors, and we're hoping to have that ready, that we can roll it out very, very soon, because we want them to also understand what you're doing is so very important, and also very important to the impact of the public service. So janitors, maintenance, the list can go on.
Everybody.
Right up to the permanent secretaries.
And I do have a question about the permanent secretaries. Hold on for that one. But somebody on Facebook is asking, what happens if someone only gets 59 hours? Will they be penalized for that?
No, they won't be penalized for that. We want to just see some consistent order.
You'll help them to get the
Of
We
other
will
hours.
definitely help them to get
We'll
that,
get
one,
that hour.
that 1 hour.
We can get that
But
hour.
we want to make sure that there's a clear structure, that
Yes.
persons are working for a purpose, that
Yes.
we are making effective decisions with the right data and the right information. And in order for that to happen, number one, people need to know what they're looking for. They need to understand where to get information. We need our public officers to collaborate and coordinate more. We want our public officers to know one another, to understand why I'm in the public service. I am a very proud public officer. I had choices to not be in the public service, and I chose to be here. And because I chose to be here, I wanted to be the best public officer. And that's the kind of attitude and behavior that we want to see filtrated throughout the public service. So when you do call, and you will call, and you will hear other persons like Laura Smith answering the phone in such a professional way, because if you ever meet her, you will see how proud she is to be doing
Wow.
that job. She loves it.
Yeah.
It exudes energy out of her every time she goes into that center, because she loves what she's doing. This is an area that when she came into the public service, she was able to grow in, but it's also an area where we saw that she had an innate ability to serve persons through this mechanism, and we've been able to work with her to develop her capacity, but also to give her the exposure that she needs in that center.
All right, so permanent secretaries, I mean, you mentioned the grade 11 and the grade 12, and as when you're up to that level, you would have had some sort of formal training. So, listen, I'm a permanent secretary. I already have my bachelor's, my master's, my doctorate. I don't need this. Why do I have to do this?
It's changing every day.
Say
Best
that.
practices within your area is essential, and they're very important. And what I may have learned in my doctoral degree 2-3 years ago, that may have changed, and there are new ways of doing things. We want, as we are saying, world class. We have to stay on the
We
cutting
have to
edge.
keep going.
And so you have to keep reading, you have to keep learning, you
Yep.
have to keep finding new ways of doing things. Applicability is very important. Informations to apply to what is currently happening on the ground. And so we can't always depend on what we got in a formal training, but we have to look at daily. I've been in this position for just a few months, and I know I've done more than 60 hours
Okay.
of learning.
600.
You know,
Yeah.
because there's just so much that you
Yeah.
can acquire.
So continuous learning,
Yes,
continuous
continuous
edu-
learning.
from the janitor to the permanent secretary.
Correct.
And it's mandatory.
But it's also the responsibility of our senior managers, our permanent secretaries, and others like Dr. Josh to give back to others in the public service. We are part of the Public Service 101 program, where we are telling people about, we are the facilitators, we're telling persons about the public service. In Public Service 101, we're also bringing individuals who have left the public service, who are still proud to be connected with the public service in some way, and they're going to be telling their stories to public officers about how it was for them. How did they get to that level? We have an example of a public officer who is now our deputy premier. We want her to tell her story about why did she choose the public service, why did she stay, and why did she move into this area that she is now of serving her constituents, serving the public in a different way. So it's bringing those stories, but it's also using public officers who have had that opportunity to excel and who have had that opportunity to move up, to tell their stories and to be part of the learning process as well.
I'm being told by the Government Information Service, Department of Information and Public Relations, that we are running out of time. This indeed has
unfortunate,
been very exciting, but I want us to touch on another aspect that is very often overlooked in the public service in terms of safety on the job and the aspect of preventative maintenance. Can you just touch on that briefly for us?
We have an entire unit dedicated to health and safety in the Department of Human Resources. So we're consistently looking at our office spaces, we're looking at the conditions of them, we're looking to ensure, because our number one priority is ensuring our public officers are safe and they are in environments that are conducive to work. So when we look at preventative maintenance now, we're targeting all of the maintenance personnel in the public service. We are giving them the opportunity to develop those skills, to hone them in. We're packaging it and we're saying this is what you need to help put the public service in a position where we don't have office closing because something breaks. We can fix it ourselves, fix it in a timely manner. And in the end, service isn't disrupted.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
In many instances, we fix things, but we don't develop a tool that helps us to remember
Yeah.
to check those things.
Yeah.
So,
Maintenance is the
okay.
key.
yeah, the
Preventative
preventative
maintenance.
maintenance elements there, that's going to teach our maintenance officers how to create those work orders, how to make sure that they have their maintenance logs in place and that they're constantly checking on things. Sometimes we hire these individuals, they come in with very basic skills and we
Yeah.
just leave them there for years. And then we complain that this isn't working and that isn't working, but we've never given them an opportunity to be exposed to any form of formal training. And we're trying to change things that way.
Sounds very exciting. Has there been any feedback at all from the public service, from public servants about
In
this?
terms of the numbers,
Yeah.
we are oversubscribed. We are
Okay.
oversubscribed. There's a lot of energy.
Is it free?
Everything is covered for public
It's covered.
officers. Yes,
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
we've also extended ourselves to statutory boards as well. So we are offering support. We're offering our training to statutory organizations as well. But the
Mm-hmm.
government pays for this. We now have a healthy budget, and we're very happy with that. But we have to report on
Of
what
course.
we're doing with that. So we want to make sure that the successes are very tangible and very clear, and persons can see change. But the training is having a big impact on the public service. Persons are eager to learn. They're eager to apply for training initiatives, for scholarships and so forth. But what we're going to do over the next 3 to 5 years, is measure the change and the impact that's
Yes.
occurring. Because with training, you can't see a change right away.
Right away, yeah.
Unless it's a practical training that you're going to administer that allows you to see somebody doing something, taking steps differently. But our plan going forward is to build up the monitoring and evaluation element of the Institute to make sure that we are measuring that change over time.
Yes.
We have absolutely
Good.
run out of time, but I want to give each of you an opportunity to say something that you hadn't said before, something that you want to reiterate. But Mr. Adams, I want you to particularly speak about how the Deputy Governor's Office intends to foster better communications internally and externally.
As I said, Ms. Bonds, as a government, especially at the Office of the Deputy Governor's level, we have a responsibility. We have to communicate to the public and to the public service which we have charge over. So we are ensuring that in matters, in projects, in these developments, the public is consistently aware what's happening. But on the other end of the spectrum, we are consistently speaking to public officers. This is what's available to you. This is what we're doing. This is how we're developing. This is when we expect it to be ready, expect it to be completed, expect it to be available to you. Effective communication means, again, we communicate accurately and we communicate timely. That's important. So we're packaging everything that the public officers and the public needs to know and saying this is the information because we want to communicate with you. We want everyone to know what's happening. What informed persons are powerful persons.
All right, Dr. George?
Could I just say I love what I'm doing?
Yes,
And I'm
ma'am.
excited. to
Proud public
see-
servant.
Yes, and I'm excited to see how the public officers have really shown me that they want to learn and they want to be upskilled in what they do. We launched the scholarship program one Friday evening, and
Yes.
this is no exaggeration. By Monday morning, I had an application.
Wow.
That was Friday evening. We sent out the information. By Monday morning, we had an application. And my phone continues to ring off the hook with persons inquiring and asking questions and wanting to know how they can become engaged. And I dare say it's not just the white collar people, as we would put it. It's also the technical people, the technocrats who are calling and saying, I want to be able to go and do this. How will you assist me? And I'm just excited.
And as we go to you, Mrs. Letsom,
Yes.
perhaps, I'm not sure if the Institute has been officially launched yet, so you can speak to that as well.
Well, we didn't make a big thing out of it, but we did launch it, so
Okay.
persons are aware, and we do have a brochure, and we have lots of information. We're working with the Department of IT to really come up with a page on the government's website so persons can access it. We're looking for a new place because the Institute is going to expand. We're hiring lots of individuals into the HR department to be able to do some of this work as well as other work of the institution. But Angela, when you've done as many years in the public service as I have,
How many?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I came in very young, and I got a lot of opportunities, and I seized those opportunities. And I was honored to be accepted into the public service, but I've always been honored to be a public officer. And service is something that has always been dear and near to my heart. But what brings me such excitement and pleasure is when I can allow an officer as young as him to come into the public service and to be on a program like this. I'm sitting here, and usually I'm quite a talkative person, but you see this time I'm not saying much because I'm so proud of the young people who are coming into the public service, like Mr. Adams. And I'm saying to my colleagues, give them a chance. Give them a chance to grow. Give them a chance to speak. Give them a chance to be heard. And they are not very patient and tolerant. And so we have to help them to be a little bit more patient. But time for them is an essence. And they want things happening fast. And we have to get with it. So I'm sitting here today, and I'm just feeling extremely proud, extremely honored to be a public officer, but extremely proud that we are doing the right things for the young people that are coming into the public service. Mr. Adams, thank you for taking a chance on us.
Thank you for taking a chance on me.
No. Thank you very much, Deputy Governor's Office. Thank you. Y'all are beaming. Y'all are shining. Y'all are doing
We're
good
proud
stuff.
to be public officers.
Yeah, all right, now. So we've had today, this is Table Talk. This has been Table Talk. Our time has been fast spent. We've had with us guests today, the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Deputy Governor, Mrs. Charlene Dabrio Letsom, the Interim Director of the Virgin Islands Public Service Learning Institute, Dr. Connie E. George, and Assistant Information Officer, Mr. E.U.C. Adams. Thank you so very much. It has been my pleasure to be here. My name is Angela Burns. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Angela.